Welcome to Grand Blanc Watchdogs. It's Saturday, April 4th. With me, I have a special guest. We are here on CCN, Metro Flint News Talk Radio. Thank you, Mike Kilbreth, for the opportunity and for helping me navigate the production values of radio. Lonnie is not with us, but we have a very special guest, my daughter. Her name is Dara Shapiro. She is a Grand Blanc High School graduate, and she went to NYU for college and stayed on in New York and got a master's degree in teaching from Columbia Teachers College. And she went to work for the New York City Public Schools in the Bronx. And that's a fairly bad neighborhood for those of you who don't know, but it was a Dominican population, mostly immigrants, all immigrants, I guess. And she was teaching English as English literature to second language learners. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So she did that for several years, and then she moved to Los Angeles. She's taught in Los Angeles public school system, which is LA Unified. And she had some second language learners there, and now she's working in a charter school in Los Angeles. So she's seen education from several different sides, as well as has a master's. And she recently gave a talk at something called
The Rediscovering Our Praxis Conference.
Yes, it was a sort of a conference where teachers were coming back from the field and talking about what had actually happened when they took their skills out into the world. I guess praxis is like practice, kind of.
Yeah.
Our practice, our praxis. Anyway, she taught there. She gave a talk there, and so this is my daughter, Dara. Say hello to the audience, Dara.
Hello, I'm Dara.
Yes, and she's very beautiful, and she just got married, and she's having a lovely time out there in Los Angeles. But she has some ideas, and we have been talking as a family about the upcoming school millage at Grand Blanc for Grand Blanc High School. Is it
Community
it's
schools.
community schools? They're trying to renew the old millage, which was first floated in 2016. It was 6.3 mils, and we voted it in
2015, I think.
15. Okay, yes. Well, it's 2026 now.
But
It's a
a
10-year
2015
yeah.
technology bond.
Right, and that means that it started in 2016, and now it's 2026, and it's expired. So we are, last time I talked about the millage, I kind of came down on the fact that Grand Blanc Community Schools have gone down to 8th in Genesee County, according to the U.S. News and World Report survey of America's high schools. Now, when my kids were little and we were growing up, Grand Blanc was always the top one in Genesee County. But this year, I don't know how long, I think we've been sinking for a while, but when I looked it up this year, when the millage came up and my husband looked it up, wow, we were down to 8th, folks. And my husband got very angry and said, this millage, this 6.3 that they're trying to get, has nothing to do with academics. And they should be addressing it. If we have a slide like that, somehow they need to come to the public and say, we know there's a slide, and this is what we're doing to address it. Now, my daughter, we'll talk about whether or not this millage could address the academic slide. That's an issue. And also, there's a lot to unpack here. So I would like to ask my daughter, what can a school that has that has gone down like this, what can they do to improve academic? Even given a number of district of choice students, socioeconomic factors in our township that have changed over the years, we should be able to educate all our children that come through our school system and be a premier school district, no matter what. So my daughter has some ideas about what do schools do when they want to bring up their academics. What are some things?
It depends on the school. When they want to bring up their academics, I think that that's not really your question. Your question is why does this millage not address academics? And then what can they do within this millage to then address academics?
That's almost my secondary question because um, you talk a lot about benchmarks and reaching benchmarks and holding children to a standard and sometimes holding them back,
Well,
making it take longer to educate
I
them.
mean, you can look at New York City versus Mississippi right now. Mississippi um, has a much higher literacy rate because they held back their third graders. They said if you can't read at a third grade level, you can't go to fourth grade. They're finding that that's not translating, though, to eighth grade as easily. There's a difference in adolescent education than the elementary school education. But and there are still more students than there were previously meeting their benchmarks at eighth grade because they know they won't go on to high school. So in New York City, they got rid of the Regents exam, which means that students are only doing project based learning, which is if you turn in a diorama at the end of the year,
You get an A.
you get an A because schools are not incentivized to hold students back. It makes them look like they're not educating all students. So if you really want to change academics, you have to hold students to benchmarks. You have to say, look, if you don't pass this state test, then you don't get to graduate. You could factor in the ACT or the SAT in there. And um, you also need to put money towards, why aren't the students passing their math test? Why aren't they passing their reading tests? Do they need coaches in those areas? Do we need more math teachers? Do they need an after school or before school program to bolster their math skills? You have to put money towards identifying the underlying cost,
Hmm.
which this millage does not seem to be doing. I don't see a literacy coach in there, and yet they're reading at a 50% rate. So why is that not part of where the money's going?
Did you tell me though that teacher salaries can't be a part of this millage? Hiring more teachers is not something
It's
this
something
would
different. I'm
finance.
saying coaches, not necessarily teachers. So
Oh.
you have a literacy specialist come in and
And
they
that
would
could be
do,
budgeted by this millage or
yes,
by a millage?
yes,
Um,
as far as I know. Yeah.
well, we don't know but that would be something, and they could put that out there and say, this is part of our plan.
And it would be the part that would cost about holding students back is what do you do with the students who you hold back?
Because now the other ones are coming up behind, and now you
Yes,
have crowding in the classrooms.
yes. But if you look at Mississippi, if you look at what Louisiana's doing now too, and Arkansas, they're finding that you only have to do that for 2 or 3 years, and then people start to adapt. You just have to be willing to have the uncomfortable years, and then your district will come back up.
And the kids will start focusing more, and their
Yes.
parents will help them more, and all the good things that happen when people are being held to a standard and trying to reach it.
Yes. But the Performing Arts Center is a great thing. And um, the increased security for students crossing on campuses is also a good thing.
And also, you said rehabilitating West Middle School is a
Yes.
very much
In
needed
West
West
Campus.
Campus.
Yeah, it was 10 years ago, it was uninhabitable. So I don't know how it is now.
Right. And a lot of what they talked about was security. You can walk in at any door throughout the building. They
Yes.
need to make it more secure and locked up. Um, and oh, Dara is very against my idea of a second high school. So I've been that's been knocked out of me. Not only did Mr. Bennett suggest that a large high school is so much better because kids can get lost there, but or not lost, but they can find their own niche in a much larger school and not have just one in crowd. There could be all sorts of in crowds, and that is a nice feature of a large school. But why else do you think we should not have a second high school? What does that do? What would happen if we did that?
Because you lose something without the diversity. You do want the ability. Maybe you only want to take one AP class. Maybe you're really good in English, but you're bad at chemistry. But you can strengthen. If you had to go to the magnet school, then you would only be taking all APs or AP equivalent theoretically. But you have some students who want to take one, some students who are better at biology, so they get flexibility in their education. There's that. There's also the extracurriculars. If you have just the small school, the big school is not going to pay for them to also be in their extracurricular programs. They're not, it would be how the scheduling would work, having to bus them over, having to pay for their uniforms and their equipment and all of that, it would be a mess. So if you have the big school, everybody under the same umbrella, you have the same state funding under that umbrella, same millage funding, and everybody gets to participate in whatever they
Everything.
want. Yes.
What if you had two equal schools, like East and West Middle School?
East and West Middle School aren't equal at all. There's one is higher economic, is more economically, yeah,
Socioeconomic is higher, and that would
yes.
be East.
And
but-
that's, yes, and that's just how it goes. If you separate them like that, you have one that does better than the other. You
Right.
don't want to separate. You want everybody in the same building. You also want it for the safety reasons that they say. You don't want kids milling around like that. You want them in. You want a security guard. You want maybe a metal detector of some kind. You don't want them milling around outside.
Okay, so putting aside the separate school makes it a good time to take a break. And when we come back, my daughter has a very strong opinion about one facet, and that's the individual Chromebooks. Quite a costly piece of our technology upgrade. And we're back. Here it's Monica Shapiro, one Grand Blanc watchdog, and my daughter Dara, a Grand Blanc High School grad, a public high school teacher herself, Columbia Teachers College educated, with some more thoughts on our upcoming millage here in Grand Blanc. Oh, there was one aspect of the millage that you were very much against that you
Yes.
thought would harm academic, has harmed.
Has harmed more than anything else across the country, both math and literacy, and just it tanked us. I have friends in law school right now who's or even in college. I was speaking to the dean of Tisch School of the Arts at NYU about a week ago, and he was saying it's all pen and paper. They're having students write scripts, pen and paper. This millage re-ups the money for students to have individualized Chromebooks, and that is a problem. That
Has been shown.
has been shown study after study. All they're
It's not
more
an
apathetic.
advantage. It's not making your kids more
No.
computer savvy in the workplace
It
coming down the
totally
pike.
isn't.
Makes them more apathetic. What else?
Yes, it makes them apathetic. It lowers their math ability, and it lowers their confidence. They don't have the, oh, here's a multiple choice or a multiplication table in front of me. I can just do this. It's no, let me rely on this to type it in quickly. I need this with me. If you are carrying that around in your backpack all day, it's a crutch instead of relying on your own brain. And so you have a general torpor, and you have this a cheating epidemic that teachers can hardly handle. So we're seeing, and certainly in my classroom, as my students will attest to, and frequently are annoyed by, that it's all pen and paper. It's a book in front of them, pencil in your hand, and worksheet or writing assignment or whatever. And it is the only way I have found to actually get them to engage with the material. The second that that computer opens, it's whatever games, it's ChatGPT. And even if you block it, they find ways around it very quickly. It's not different
And they're
from them
going,
having a phone,
yeah,
which Grand Blanc Schools takes away. They put them in the yonder pouches that they can't open. So why do they then have
their own
pretty
personal
much the same
Chromes.
thing?
Yeah. What about though? So no Chromes in the classroom, but when they go home, they're either going to have that Chromebook or their iPhone to do their homework with. They're not, you
But
can't
there's
escape it at home, but adding one
so
that they take home is probably silly.
yeah, or you don't assign as much homework then.
Yes, you don't assign as much homework. That was actually a big feature of my feeling about your kids' education. It was like, you're there for 8 hours a
Yes.
day. Get your work done there.
Yes.
And
And then
it
you
should be
don't have the
possible.
distractions. You have the teacher right there. And maybe it takes them an extra 2 weeks to finish reading Gatsby. So what?
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
Or to master math.
Yeah, extra time on a math skill.
And then
Maybe they
going
struggle
home
more.
and looking up the answers and
Yes,
filling them all in is not helping them anyway.
and
Do the work on site.
let's say they go home, they look up all the answers, they write them in a notebook. They still have to come back to school, open the notebook, review the answers, and the teacher's watching them do this. It's a
Right.
whole other thing. Then, oh, here's the answer, write it down, here's your paper.
Yeah.
So, and what they do at home, it's who knows what else they're doing at home. You
Right,
can't
right.
possibly control it. But
Right. But
what
you
you
don't
can
have to feed
control,
into it with these.
and what you can do is have a Chromebook cart in the room. So let's say they are doing a research project.
Right.
Let's say for history, they need to look something up. They, on that day, they can grab the class set, quickly do what they need to do. Okay, close it, put it away.
Huh.
And then they're not carrying around all day. It saves the district quite a bit of money.
Right. You said a big portion of this current millage
Yes.
was for updates on the old MacBook Chromes.
Well,
Or what, not MacBooks, sorry.
the Chromebooks.
Chromebooks. Yeah.
It for updates and upkeep because they're teenagers. They're taking a Chromebook, they're slamming it into their backpack.
Yeah.
It's breaking. They're spilling things on it.
Right, right.
You have your classroom set. The adult is responsible for it. The tech people can come in after hours, quickly update those and leave. And then it just stays in their classroom.
Right.
It's not something you're making them be responsible for.
All right, that would be something absolutely that would be a reason to vote against the millage in and of itself. Because yes, we do. Dara is very conflicted because as I said in my original talk about this, she was a band child, or band girl, and she loved a performing art, and it does great things. Let's talk about what it would be.
The performing arts thing is great, and they should have it.
Yes.
I think Chromebooks you can push against them all you want. It may just be the current way that it is.
Yes, this district believes in them still. And they're not going to be on cutting edge research like you.
Well,
fresh out of teacher college.
Will just be the individual teachers in their classrooms will just say, don't take them out.
Yeah.
And that'll be it. But if it's between having the performing arts high school and not having it, or the performing arts center and not having it, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. And what about the early childhood ed thing at the
Yeah,
Perry
that just
Center?
seems nice. If it's pouring rain outside, they have somewhere else to go.
And they also have not just pouring, it wasn't just for that. It was a specific, when you were little, there was something called Parents as Teachers, and it was in the kind of basement of that. And it was a great outreach program. It is how we discovered that your brother was autistic. And they did a wonderful job of that, but it could be expanded. Only certain parents ever seem to know about that nice little program. And I think you had to pay for it. And
certain parents sometimes only know about
a lot of programs. Yeah. But maybe if it was a big early childhood, it would just outreach
free
automatically.
Or cost.
Yes. So maybe that. And then what else is in that millage?
It was redoing the Perry Center in general.
Yeah, they never seem to quite have what it needs, which is gutting and a new boiler.
Yeah.
But the other thing that you like, the West Middle School stuff, you like the security stuff. So it's still a tough call, folks. There is the aspect of, if we send them the message that we are not happy with where our schools are right now, then maybe they will, so we're not giving you all the money. You're not going to have easy street while you just sort of look around and say, what can we spend this on? And for this year, it'll be tightening our belts and looking to see what we can do about academics. And then when they come to us next year and they say, we want this, we've done this, this, and look, we've moved up in the survey, then you get a community that is back supporting the schools. Right now, I think the community is feeling a little burned.
Or you try this performing arts thing, you redo what needs to be redone, see if I'm right about the Chromebooks. It doesn't seem like a reason to vote against it right now because the studies are so new and it is such a
Right, but it could be a reason to vote against it that our particular district has
yeah,
gone down to
it's gone
8th,
down
and
and
people
they're
would like to see $880 come back
yes.
on their tax bills. So there is a reason to vote no. And also, always everybody remember that Superintendent Alward told us at the meeting that he had been such a good steward of this millage money that they'd doubled it with the market's been good and they invested it. So they've got quite a bit of money, even if we were to vote against it this year. So I still probably come down against it, but my daughter, the education expert, is for it.
Yes. I think the performing arts part is too good to pass up.
It's very strong. And we've got that, we've had a wonderful drama teacher, a wonderful band program, a wonderful orchestra program. Those programs add so much to what does make us a premier school district, even if we've fallen down to 8th. And as another thing that kept coming up was Davison has a performing arts center, and we
Yes.
can't let Davison get ahead of us,
But
but they are ahead of us
a
academically right now.
problem, I think, or how it felt going to Grand Blanc Community Schools was the elementary school was great. The high school was great, but the middle school, not so much. And they don't address anything about middle schools in
Right.
here. The amount of education you get in the Grand Blanc middle schools, those high school teachers are just playing catch up. They're not, they seem to treat the job more like babysitting than education.
In the middle school, at the middle school level.
So not moving students to ninth grade if they don't pass eighth grade tests,
Benchmark, yeah.
that would be maybe more beneficial than 11th grade marks.
Yeah.
Third grade, they're probably doing it, would be my guess.
Yeah.
That most of the kids are meeting it.
But they
eighth
hit
grade,
middle school and puberty hits. And I remember your teachers sometimes saying, we're just getting them through puberty and passing them on to the high school.
yes, and that's ridiculous.
Yes, okay.
That is lazy and it's just crazy. You have to, and there were a couple who were really trying.
Yes.
But I if you are already a struggling student and then you go to that middle school and you're not being held to a standard and they're just passing you to high school, when you get to high school, it's
You're
a
adrift.
mess.
All right. Thank you, Dara. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks, Mom.
It's been great having you. Just tell us quickly, what was your talk about at the Praxis conference? Because I love it.
My talk was about classroom environment. So it was about how you teach the whole student. Like my students, Graham Blake doesn't have nearly this kind of problem, but it was
New immigrants.
new immigrants from the Dominican Republic, new to the neighborhood, largely didn't speak English, and you had to get them to pass an ELA Regents, usually that year, as I taught juniors. And so my talk was about, well, how do you do that? What do you do and what works?
And some of them were
And
very traumatized by what they
yes,
had left and by what they had arrived at.
yes. And so how do you make it so your classroom is, they want to be there, they're happy to be there, they're challenged, and you're helping them bridge that gap, and Americanizing themselves. And so I spoke about that, and I spoke about really how you get them to read. What do you do with those kind of students in reading? And the answer is a lot of reading out loud. and it's going word by word with them. It's having them sit by you at lunch and read aloud to them. But it's a complicated problem, and it's a problem in New York City schools, and kindness and humor and um, empathy, all that's what helps.
Hmm.
So we spoke about that.
Well, thank you. And I bet I would think any one of us would want a teacher who looks at our students that way, as whole people and meeting them where they are. So I have really enjoyed talking to my very own daughter about these topics, and we'll keep on talking millage talk because we've got all the way till May till we vote on it. Also, next week we have a special guest, Mr. Bruce Trevithick, the executive director of the Genesee County Medical Control Authority. He's in charge of how we do things at the 911 consortium. He will be talking to us about exclusive contracts with EMS providers versus geofencing agreements. And that should be a really interesting conversation, and I'm looking forward to it.